Good day, good people. Welcome back. I'm a little late, but that's okay. I'm here, and I'm here to share with you all another parent and guardian tip. And this one is related really to neurology and how to kind of explain and help your child really understand what's going on in their little minds when they're reacting, and how to kind of help them be more conscious of what's going on before, and how to shift in the moment so that they can make better decisions. So I suggest that you do this after an incident, but once they've kind of calmed down. So within 2 or 3 hours, depending on how long it takes them to calm down, but you want it kind of fresh on their mind, but definitely not during the incident, because at that point they're too elevated to get the purpose of it. But basically, what I do with students is I start with some education. So, like I said, here goes the neurology piece. So I teach them about the brain, and I do that in a really easy way that's good, that's quick for them to catch on to, and it's called the HandBrain Model. So what we do is we take our hand and you tuck your thumb in, and then you make a fist. Okay, the fist represents your brain. Now, essentially, the brain is broken into three major parts. There's more, but for this example, we're going to only focus on two, really, but I'm going to tell you about three of them. So, there's the prefrontal cortex, there's the um, brainstem. I don't know why I had that moment, but there's the brainstem, and then inside here is your limbic system. Okay, so the prefrontal cortex is the executive function. So that's where we're thinking critical, we're really making good, decisive decisions. We're thinking about things to even make a decision. So that's the prefrontal cortex. This is where we want our children to be. However, most of them are not. Is in at a and depending on their developmental age, it's really hard to get them here. But what we can do is we can use this method to talk to them about ways to be more in that area. Anyway, then there is this limbic system. Okay, this is where a lot of children are reacting, and some adults, but we're talking about kids. Okay, but the limbic system is pretty primitive. It really it if it operates in defense mode. So the limbic system is good. Like, we need it. It's not like we don't want to ever live in this part of our brain, because if there's a fire, like, we don't want to be thinking about all of the actions. We want to immediately act. So the fight or flight response comes from this area. But a lot of times we see kids, like, they'll get into an argument with their brother or sister, and then they want to tear the room up. That's their limbic system reacting. Like, we want them to be more prefrontal cortex. So we get into an argument, what am I going to do now? Like, not just react. Okay. So really quick, again, we have them make a fist with us, and we talk about, oh, John or Sally or whatever, like, what happened a couple hours ago? Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, so do you know what's happening in your body? Probably not. Okay, well, let's work through it. Well, mommy and daddy, or auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, we get upset too. And sometimes when I get upset, I'm just reacting like you did, and that's normal. That's okay. It's really important to normalize feelings, but that's a whole nother video. But you give them some reassurance. It's okay that we reacted that way, but we have to learn and we have to do better now that we've done that. So during that reaction, you were here, you were in your limbic system, you were in fight or flight mode. So we need to learn how in the future, when this thing happens again, because that's a trigger. So next time I'm triggered and it brings me here, what can I do to help bring me back into my prefrontal cortex? Okay. So we've done the education. The next thing I like to do is an actual um, hand model. So what I do is I have them trace their hand on a piece of paper, boop, 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 and then we cut it out and we make ourselves a little hand. Now, let me adjust my light a little bit. Okay, well, if I adjust my light just a little bit so that we can see, the word. So it's gonna get dark in here. I'm sorry, but anyway. So I just did this really quickly, and I did this based off of I put myself in a child's position, like what are some ways that I would be triggered. But I like to do like once we flipped our lid and where our limbic system is all the way exposed, because that's what it's called. Once you are triggered and your limbic system is reacting, it's called flipping your lid. So we flipped our lid. I like to put a little stop because then it reminds me I need to stop and I need to do these things. So first, after we cut out our hand, I like to go through different triggers. So each folded finger are triggers, okay? Because just because I'm triggered once, like one thing sets me off, I can still very much function. Like I just might be here, but my prefrontal cortex is still in control. But each time I'm triggered, I'm getting a little bit more heated and then I'm reacting. So we want to slow down that process by showing them, helping them see what are the different things that are triggering them. So this one is an example with a sibling. So I got into so my sibling irritates me. Okay. So that's pretty standard for some kids. They have a little sibling or older sibling that gets on their nerves. So we don't want them to just say, well, um, big sister Susie was picking on me. Okay, what about that picking on you upset you? Well, she was yelling. Okay, yelling is a trigger. You want them to be very specific. Okay, so yelling. Um, she was also too much in my space. Okay, so not respecting boundaries. So that's a trigger. What else do I have on here? Not sharing. So maybe they asked for some cereal and Sister Susie was playing and put the cereal on top of the refrigerator because she know that John can't reach it. Okay, that's upsetting. Then the other one is that I put on here playing my toys without asking. So using their stuff again, that's boundaries. Not listening to me. So maybe they were having a normal conversation and it felt like they weren't being listened to. So that made them react. So you want them to be as specific as possible. So they can't just say, well, they were bothering me. Well, what is bothering? Because anything could be bothersome. So you really want them to think about that. And then on the inside of the hand, we want to talk about ways to bring it back down. So these are coping skills. So for me, I wrote just different coping skills. So one of them says, take 5 big breaths. So again, deep breathing. Well, not again, because I haven't talked about that today. But then there is listen to my favorite song. So maybe they like music. That's fine. Listen to my favorite song. Now this one, oh, this is a middle finger, but anyway, this middle finger I put not for any particular reason why it's on the middle finger. I just happen to write it that way. But I put two. One says get an adult, and the reason why I put two is because you also want to help kids be self-sufficient because they're not always adults going to be around. There should be, but sometimes it just isn't like that. Like there just isn't one around immediately, so you need to figure out ways to self-regulate when an adult is not around. So I put get an adult if one's available, but also read a book. So maybe they like to read, that calms them down. Get a magazine or a comic book or whatever. Just something to calm you down. And then there is go to what does it say? Go to a different room. So removing yourself, that does so much. Like kids, I don't know, that's hard for them to get. Then another one is safe word. So safe word, I actually don't recommend you use with the younger kids. I recommend you use it with higher elementary, so 5th grade, middle and high school. And the reason why is because younger kids really in my experience, they don't really know how to use it appropriately. So what a safe word is basically if you have a child who historically has consecutive outbursts, have been having tantrums for a whole bunch of for as long as you can remember or whatever, um, sometimes they have a real difficult time regulating themselves. So they really need their unit to help them regulate. So one way of doing that is a safe word. So it gives them an opportunity to use one word that everybody in the family knows. Like, okay, let me just give them, and the word is attached to a time limit. So if the safe word is Oreo cookies, that's a phrase. But anyway, um, and when I say this word, it lets everybody know, like, okay, let me just give them 10 minutes. We all gonna take 10 minutes and we're gonna come back together. That works for adults too, but we're not talking about adults. And the idea is you can use any of these and just give yourself time to do it. And usually just using one should bring you back here. Okay. Sometimes I might need to use two or three because after 30 minutes I'm still heated or whatever. I'm gonna try something else. And sometimes I'm gonna use a combination of things. Like maybe I'm gonna go to a different space and listen to music, or I'm gonna go to a different space and read a book, or I'm gonna go to a different space with an adult to have a conversation. Like that's a combination of coping skills. But it's all about just identifying things that will help them calm down and bring them from this moment to this moment. So bring them from being in our limbic system back into the prefrontal cortex where they're making more executive and analytical decisions. All right, guys. I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this is something that you try to implement. And if you have any questions or comments or whatever, please feel free to contact me. All right. Till next time. Bye.